Samantha was absolutely livid at this whole process because we were literally using a piece of plywood as our sink for like 3 months. What's up, everybody? I hope you're having a great day. So one of the big things about this channel is I've always tried to share with y'all my mistakes and things that I've kind of blundered over the years, so maybe you can get something out of it, maybe help you save a little money or just know from the experience. Well, if you've been following along with this channel, you know that real estate is something I do a lot with both as a realtor, as an investor, and for my own DIY experiences. Well, over the years and throughout this channel, you see me like buy, flip, renovate like 4 or 5 properties. Well, you've probably seen us renovate in our 1940s Navy Point house. It's an old house from World War II that was right outside the back gate of Naval Air Station Pensacola. And with old houses have old problems, so you do a lot of renovations. So me and Samantha have been renovating this house for about 2 years now since we moved in. And we did the kitchen, but we decided, you know what, we didn't like some things, we're gonna redo it. So me and Samantha got to it, knocking down everything in sight to get it back to where we can put it all back together. We tore down the old sheetrock, we put new sheetrock in, we got rid of the old cabinets, and it led up to really my like $6,000 blunder, if you want to say. Hopefully this will save you some hassle, some money, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to include in this video my 5 big rules when dealing with contractors in the real estate world. Because if you stick to these rules, you'll have a baseline of not making the mistakes that I did in this renovation. And I hope you can get a lot from this, so let's jump into it. So when we got the kitchen all the way back down to the bare bones, it was time to order some cabinets, okay? Basically what we did is we tried to find a reputable company. We searched high and low, and we finally had to just go with what we thought was best. So we went down to Cabinets to Go, we had read reviews, and we were just like, let's just pick one. And I went down there and I said, you know, I don't have time to level cabinets, to order them. I just need a kitchen to appear. Could you please do that for me? And they told me it was going to be about $6,000 for our countertops and our cabinets. And I was like, cool, I'm good with that. I gave them my credit card, they swiped, and they're off and going. Well, that's where I messed up. And I thought that since they had a very nice, clean office space and everything was good to go, that these were professionals. Well, what I didn't realize is how poorly run the place was. And right after that, the manager disappeared. And the only person left running the place was just one extra guy. And he really didn't know anything about my case. So, everything kind of went downhill from there, and this was basically a 4-month process of back and forth and verbal judo. I basically did everything I could besides sending a pigeon to the CEO of this company. I tweeted him, I emailed him, I called, nothing. I was ghosted for basically like probably 2 or so months until finally the cabinets came in. And they botched how the cabinets were going to get to my house. I had to go pick them up. And so their contractors showed up, and they were from out of town. They threw the cabinets together, and when I went and stuck a level on them, and then when the stone guys came to put a level on them, they're like, oh my gosh, these things are so unlevel. Well, having never put cabinets in before, I realized that that these things have to be pretty level for a countertop to go from one side of the room to the other. If they're off just a little bit at the other end, you're going to see it. You're going to have a humongous gap in the way your countertops sit. And that's what we had. They had basically not leveled them at all to the floor. And this is another thing that make sure you do, and I'm going to add this to my steps I'm fixing to talk about, is photograph everything, video everything. Well, you know me, I was basically photographing everything, video everything, because that's what I do. We noticed that they were completely unlevel, so I called Cabinets to Go and was like, hey, these things are completely unlevel. You got to bring these guys back. well, they had trimmed some stuff and they had done a lot of things, and so they had a hard time getting them to go back level. They shifted them around, which also messed up the stone guys coming back, because then you're off, micro inches at each end, which throws everything off. So it's a good thing they cut the countertops a little bigger, because what they do, they bring in a laser level of your whole kitchen and show you how it's all going to kind of fit together. There should be a shim right here. This is not perpendicular. This side is higher than this side. This side is basically inverted, and there is a angle going down right here, a defilade. I don't know if you can see it. Look at that. Also, they didn't put it against the wall right here. That was not in a stud. That, I don't know what you call that. And then, yeah, this door right here doesn't open all the way. So since they had goofed that up, it basically took another 2 months to get the stone ordered and wait for it to come in. And Samantha was absolutely livid at this whole process, because we were literally using a piece of plywood as our sink for like 3 months. And it was just so frustrating. I mean, it was so frustrating. And, we were just trying to go with the best we could do. And, our friends, I think, probably thought we were crazy, because literally there was a piece of plywood over the sink basin that I had another sink basin that I was able to throw in there, and we were able to survive. I mean, I told these people, I was like, we're basically without a sink in our home for like 3 months. Like, I was so frustrated. So finally, the contractors came back, got it all level, and they installed the countertops. So now I want to talk about the big 5 steps that you need to know to make sure that this process goes smoothly for you. One is not use cabinets to go. That's just my personal opinion. Hashtag don't sue me. But that is my review of that company. Everything I said, I can back up with documentation and proof. Rule number 1 is ask around before you even use any of these people. Find somebody you know that might be in real estate that uses a contractor or a stone guy or a cabinet guy. Usually you can get these things from Lowe's, which is what we should have done, or Home Depot, and Home Depot would try to find the subcontractor. Because what's going to happen, you're going to get a distributor, you're going to order them, and then you're going to have somebody that's going to install them, because they got to be leveled, they got to be squared, they got to be plumbed. And because counters are pretty hard. They're harder than I thought they were going to be. Plus you got to hang them. We didn't have anything hanging up. We were doing floating shelves, which made our process a lot easier. 2, know that you most likely will be dealing with a subcontractor. A contractor or any real general contractor is going to get the business, and he's going to hot potato it to some guy, and he's going to make the squeeze. So in Cabinets to Go's situation, they were paying like $1,000. We paid them like $1,000 for installation. I can't believe I did that. But they took 50%, and then the other 50% went to the installer, and then they came in and put them together, and then leveled them, squared them, and hung them, and got them prepped for the stone guys to come. So then the stone guys come in, which is another subcontractor of the stone company, and then they throw the countertops down. So no, you're not going to be dealing with a Home Depot team. You're going to be dealing with John's Countertops from so-and-soville, Louisiana, Alabama, or someplace further off. Could be from your own town, could not be. So know that you're not going to be letting like a Home Depot into your house. It's going to be a subcontractor. Found this behind there. They just dumped their trash behind my cabinets. Which brings me into my 3rd point. Never, ever, ever, ever pay all up front. And that's what I did, and that's where I messed up. Sometimes when you get in a hurry and you're trying to be honest and upfront and let people know you're here to do business, you'll just fork over the money. And once you do that, You're in a relationship and you ain't getting that money back. See, if I were to start over and I only paid 50% up front, I could have said, you know what? Give me my money back and we'll call it quits. I'll find somebody else. But once I had paid all my money up front, they had me. I was in limbo. Make sure that you don't pay all up front. Make sure you got a plan. And that brings me into my fourth point. Make sure on your invoice or in your relationship when you're paying, you know when they're going to start and when they're going to finish. Don't do this thing where you just pay them and wait for them to show up, because some of them won't show up. And what they'll do, they'll play a game, and they even played this with me, and I called them on it. They'll take their subcontractor team or their team, and they'll put their guys on their highest jobs that they have going. So like whatever the highest dollar amount is, they'll put their workers out there. And then if you're over here with a small job, they'll keep moving these around, show up, do a little bit to keep you happy, keep them on the big money making jobs. See that loose? See how loose that is? And then it'll take your small job a long time to get done. They just keep moving their guys around. And if you don't give them a hard time of when to begin and complete, for them to get paid, they'll play that game with you. And it's just something that contractors will do to you. Make sure this doesn't happen to you. Make sure you know when they're going to begin, when they're going to end, and a little bit of how they're going to accomplish it. You really need to ask those questions, or you're going to get most likely really frustrated with the whole transaction. Like I wanted it to begin and end, and it should have been a half a day ordeal because it wasn't that many countertops. It was basically a sink basin, a corner piece with a lazy Susan, and two little side pieces that countertop was going to go in. It should have been an easy peasy job. That took them 2 trips to come back and do a job right, which they didn't believe me until I threw the level on them, and then they had to believe me. Of course, they came up with their reasons why it wasn't level with an 8-foot level that I showed them, and then they believed me. And this brings me to my last point, number 5. Make sure you have a good point of contact for every level of their chain of command. Make sure you know the salesman. Make sure you know the sales manager. Make sure you know the store manager. Make sure you know every way to get in contact with these people as you possibly could before the work even starts, okay? And then if you have a problem, who to contact. In my case, the sales guy was gone, the manager was gone. The store basically had nobody left running it. The Panama City guy was trying to come over and solve that district and hear all the problems, which was so many problems, so many people was mad. So they couldn't help me. There was no, I could not get in contact with anybody at the regional or national level. And so I was just out of luck, right? And it was almost to the point where I wanted to just fire them, fix it myself, and I'd have been done with it. But I couldn't, and it was so frustrating. So make sure you know who is in charge, who to complain to, who to check in with, and who to make sure your job is going as planned. And those are really my big 5 that if you stick to, most of your jobs will go correctly. Sometimes contractors will say, I want 50% up front, that way he can go buy the materials, and then he doesn't get his squeeze until after the job's finished. You know, that's pretty standard. Some of them will do they'll purchase the product up front, and then they'll have you pay them at the end. I would say that's the more professional way. And then make sure that if you hire a general contractor and you pay the general contractor, that he pays his subcontractors, because you don't want the subcontractor to come back and try to put a service lien or whatever against your house because the big contractor didn't pay the little contractor. Make sure you know your primes and subprimes are paid. Make sure you have receipts showing that they've released from that work, both at the subcontractor and at the contractor at the general level. I learned that one a hard way too. Don't be up at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out if you need to cancel a check or not, because you didn't know if who's actually doing the work, drew the permits, or etc. Know everything about it before you start, because they love to play that game. where somebody else drew the permit, somebody else is doing the work, and then you paid somebody else, and then these two guys don't get paid. Make sure you know the process of money and where it needs to go. Also, I wanted to add, just to end of this video, that Stone Interiors, the countertop guys, the stone guys did a great job. They were honest, upfront, and prompt. But I can't say the same for Cabinets to Go. That is my personal opinion. You can use them if you want. I personally will never use them again. I've yet to hear back from them. They still actually owe me money. And it's just been a terrible experience. I've tried tweeting, I've tried emailing, I've tried calling to the point where I'm just kind of through talking to them. If Cabinets to Go wants to reach out to me, shoot me an email. I'll be happy to talk to them and work this out. But as of right now, they have not done that. And if they do, I'll put it in the comments section and y'all will be able to tell if they did. So to finish this kitchen up, we still got to do the backsplash. We got to put the oven hood on and the oven backsplash. But we're almost there. It's the final stretches. So we're just trying to go with a very minimal, streamlined approach that is just easy to maintain and not a lot of moving parts. This was an experience that was just so angry to us that I wanted to put it out there to you guys. Maybe it'll help you in your process, in your real estate process. And if you happen to be moving to Florida and you need a real estate agent, well, I happen to be one here in the Panhandle of Florida, and I'd be happy to help. Just shoot me an email at the email address in the description box. Comment down below if you've had anything like this happen or if this video helped. And I'll see you guys next time. I think I'll probably do one tomorrow. I'm kind of back in the groove now. It's been a crazy few weeks. See you later.